What's up guys, Penguin Overlord here, and welcome back to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys my review of the Control Room Vector. Now you get this weapon from destroying Titan Beta, otherwise known as the Skell Super Computer, in Project Titan Ghost Recon Breakpoint's raid. Now just to be clear, for the sake of the review, I am using a 250 gear score weapon during all my testing phases, and I'm using an overall 251 gear score level, so that way we could maintain a consistent base of reference regarding the enemies on the main island of Aurora, which are stuck at a 250 gear score. Obviously, if you use a higher than 250 gear score weapon, you'll do more damage. So that's why I kind of want to use the 250 gear score weapon, so that way it would be consistent regarding all the other weapons in the game. So let's get started. I'm going to concentrate on three aspects, just like with the Goblin review. On this review, it's the signature ability, damage, and the attachments that this gun can use. So let's get started. Now, the signature ability for the Control Room Vector is the fact that it has no recoil. This is, however, half true. It doesn't have any vertical recoil, so you won't have to worry about compensating with your mouse all that much, but it will have some horizontal recoil, especially if you don't have any attachments on the gun that can control horizontal recoil. So you will have to deal with some of that. However, it's not really all that much, and once you do have the right attachments on, this gun is basically a laser beam. And even among the other vectors, which are already pretty close to laser beams, this gun is pretty much a laser, and it's awesome, and I just love it. So there we go on that. Now the damage is a little bit confusing because at Mark 3 it's upgraded to 18. However, the passive bonuses have plus 3 damage to each of them, so it's supposed to do 27 damage. And oh, by the way, one more thing I want to mention, I did test this weapon on Panther, so that way I wouldn't have to deal with the 20% reduction damage damage reduction when using a suppressor. Because this is an integrally suppressed weapon and you cannot change out the attachments, just like the Vector Shorty. Now, so yes, it does 18 damage, plus 9 with all these passive bonuses, so it's supposed to be 27. However, I did notice this took a little bit more rounds to take to kill enemies. On the regular Sentinel guys, I would usually get a 4 to 6 amount of rounds to kill an enemy, and on the Wolves, it would be 6 to 8. And this was kind of hard to calculate though, because of course the Vector has a fast rate of fire, so you can just melt enemies and shoot more bullets into them than is really necessary. But this of course allows for a fast time to kill, so that's something to consider. Don't let the low damage of the Vector, Control Room Vector, dissuade you from using it, because it just melts things, and it's pretty impressive. It's also very effective against some of the smaller drones in the game too. Like, you can take out a lot of the flying drones fairly quickly, and even some of the smaller ground drones that you find in bases, they go down pretty fast too, like usually around 2 magazines if your shot placement is good and if the drone doesn't move around a whole lot. So that was one surprise I got from this weapon, so this is actually pretty cool, so you should consider using it. Anyway, attachments, of course, you've got small and standard magazine. No 50 round magazine for this one, unfortunately. That would just make it so awesome, and just it would be a lot of firepower, which is a shame, but oh well. 30 is plenty. You've got the usual submachine gun attachments, the ATPL, the Maul, and the PEC 15. I like the ATPL, so that way it can tame that horizontal recoil and not really have a whole lot to deal with. The Maul isn't really necessary for this gun, and I say that even though it's like my favorite attachment in the game, and I use it on a whole lot of guns. But the range bonus that you get doesn't really do a whole lot. This gun, the Control Room Vector, starts the bullet drop process from 80 to 100 meters, somewhere in that range. And the Maul doesn't really do much to improve that. So if you're really worried about using this gun at distance, I would just use the Ballistic Advantage perk. I would just use that perk instead of equipping the Maul DA. This one, in my personal opinion, does a lot of a better job on this gun. And the shot spread's not that big of a deal, and sway really isn't a big deal in this game, like, at all. So there's that. The scopes are all the usual submachine gun scopes. You've got the Comp M4, the digital sight, the EXPS3, the EOTech, I'm just going to start calling it the EOTech in this game because I hate having to spell out this number. You've got irons if you really want to run irons. Does it have a front side post? It does. Okay, cool. Wasn't sure if it did. You've got this MH1 sight, you've got the Micro T1 sight, which is my personal favorite, and the panoramic sight if you're like Airsoft and want to run an Airsoft red dot. Of course, the underbarrel. You've got the rounded angle foregrip, the weird, goofy-looking Hera Arm CQR foregrip thing. The shift vertical foregrip, which gives you 7% vertical recoil. This is completely useless since this gun has no vertical recoil. And the STFG angled grip, which is bugged because it says that it gives you time to aim and mobility at the cost of horizontal recoil. But instead, you get less horizontal recoil, so 10%. I like using this stock, ironically enough, because over this one, which is what I usually use on submachine guns when I have the option, since it's glitched with that horizontal recoil. But the vertical recoil bonus is nullified by the fact that it has no vertical recoil, so plus 15% of 0 is still 0. So you also get 10% less time to aim and 15% less horizontal recoil. So for this gun, I'm just going to max out horizontal recoil. So I've basically, on this particular setup, I have 25% less horizontal recoil, and this gun just becomes a laser beam and just melts everything. So yeah, that's a basic overview of the attachments. My final verdict, I like using this gun a whole lot. It's actually personally my favorite gun out of all of the raid boss reward guns. And even though it may not be the most highest damaging gun, it's still just a lot of fun to play with. And this is actually, whenever I run Panther in a normal fashion, i.e. not for like behemoth drone hunting or raids or anything like that, I think this is going to be my go-to submachine gun for when I want to play with submachine guns. Because it really is just that effective and cool, and I just like it. Plus it's got all like the sort of supercomputer vibe with the skin and that little part right here. It's just a cool gun, and I really like using it in the game. But it's actually a pretty effective game. The 3-round burst is very effective for taking out heavies, and it's just an awesome gun. So there you guys go. Hope you all enjoyed the review of the Control Room Vector, and I would recommend you guys give it a try and use it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm Penguin Overlord. I'll catch you all next time. Take care, guys.